Hey everyone, and welcome to Peter Tears stuff with special, guest Connor.
I don't know if I should be offended, but I feel like I should be.
You should be. So this is a special edition where two of us are going to have to agree on the tiers of a specific group of things. This episode is going to be 29, almost all DC live-action movies. This kind of almost as a sequel to the Marvel one that I did on my own, which you got a couple of weeks back. This is going to be 29 movies, which we've both seen almost all of. There's one in here that I have not seen. No, two. There's two here I've not seen, I think.
There's two I've not seen. I really hope they're not the same ones.
Oh, no, three. There's three I've not seen. I'm glad I've not seen that one, actually, so that's good news.
God, which one have I seen that you haven't?
So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to dive right in. It's pretty self-explanatory. S being the best rank, F obviously being the worst. Is there anything, Connor, that you think obviously goes straight to the S tier? I think there is, but I want to see if you agree.
Yeah, I mean, Dark Knight, right?
Okay, that's the easy choice. Dark Knight goes straight.
We'll get the boring one out of the way first.
I don't know if you'll agree with me on this. I don't actually think anything else goes in the S tier with it. If we're being honest. If we're deciding that is the pinnacle of these movies, I do not think anything goes with it. And if you want reasons as to why Dark Knight is S tier, we did a 40-minute discussion review of it last year. You can go check that out. Just Google 121 in Flux Dark Knight, and you'll be there.
Yeah, let's be honest. There's only two other movies that are even in contention for S tier, and they're both from that trilogy. But I don't think either of them quite make it.
This is where we get controversial because the opposing question to that is there anything obvious like is in the F tier that is the pinnacle on the other end, that is the trash heap of which all of the other trash will sit upon because it deserves to be the bottom.
Yes, there is an answer to that. I'm doing it. I'm just going for it. It's Batman v Superman.
I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to argue with that.
No matter how bad all those other movies are, and there are some bad movies, all of them have establishing shots.
That's not my mate. That is low on the list.
As far as the criteria of a DC movie goes, that's low on the list. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of just pure fundamental filmmaking, no. And also, this is one of the only movies I've come out of a midnight showing furious.
Oh, by the way, there's four I've not seen.
What the hell have you not seen?
I think you're going to agree that most of them are not the ones that I need to rush out and see. Very few of them are going to be ones that are surprising to you. But is it alone in the F tier? Because I don't think it is. I think Suicide Squad belongs in the F tier with it. I think that movie is a disaster in filmmaking and editing and all the things that... Like, it's not disastrous in the exact same ways as Batman v Superman. But I think the net result is objectively just as bad.
I think it maybe squeaks into the E tier, personally. I don't think it's quite as terrible. Like, fundamentally in my mind, there is a level that it's above that.
Now, keep in mind, within each tier we do rank them as well, so left to right is best to worst. So we can put it in the F tier and have it place above Batman v Superman.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I feel like there are other worse movies here that I'm not prepared to say Suicide Squad is an F.
Well, what are the other options here that you're proposing for the F tier?
Catwoman.
I've not seen it. I'll have to rely on you for that. I have seen the basketball scene though, and I think on that alone, I could probably justify it.
Then that's F tier. Whether or not it's better than PVS.
I think on the grounds that I have not seen it and therefore are not angry enough about it, I'm going to put it above Batman v Superman.
Okay.
Obviously the other ones that people are yelling out for this, for F or E tier, are probably going to be Steel, Batman and Robin, maybe... Well, I don't know if people have seen it to say this, but I'd like to think people are going to be arguing for Swamp Thing.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I've not seen.
Yeah, I actually have seen Swamp Thing. I thought, hey, it's a Wes Craven movie, it's Swamp Thing, I like Swamp Thing. This can't go right. Adrian Barberou's in it. And it was a disaster. It is one of Wes Craven's worst movies. And he's made some stinkers. He's made some great movies, but he's also made some stinkers.
Well, then the question is it F tier or not?
I think I'd put it in the E tier.
Well, E tier it is then.
All right. There we go. We'll put it in the E tier. I think the E tier is going to be crowded, to be honest.
I do as well. I'm concerned that it is. Where do you want to go to next is the question.
Here's the thing. Superman 4 probably deserves that E tier, right?
But
I think something Superman 4 has that some other movies that might go in the E tier doesn't is kind of an 80s cheese factor, which makes it kind of more fun to watch, but also, and more importantly, Christopher Reeve, contributed to the script because he really wanted to do a movie about Superman tackling nuclear arms, and the heart was in the right place. There was a real good...
Someone cared.
Yeah, there was a well-intentioned idea behind it, and he believed in that film. He tried to do the best he could, and maybe it just means Christopher Reeve shouldn't have been a writer. Maybe that's all that, and that's fine if that's the case. But there was a noble intention behind it. It's a pretty funny, because at least it's a bad movie. It's funny to watch.
I mean, I'd watch it again right now.
So would I.
Yeah, if someone went, you've got to watch, one of these terrible out of the what we're kind of looking at as these bottom couple of tiers. Someone went, you've got to pick one of these right now to watch. Yeah, I'd watch Superman 4.
I guess what we're arguing here is it in the E tier with other things that we definitely never want to watch again, or do we put it in the D tier because that's where things that we're willing to actually put on for a laugh go?
Yeah, I think D on that logic. I think if it's an E or an F, I would quite happily never watch it again for the rest of my life.
I think that's fine logic. We're kind of, and we can sort of rejig this as we go if we find that we've made because I did this with the first list I did where I felt like I had to move some things down to make sort of re-establish what tiers meant just to make it all work. But we have to start somewhere. So I'm going to say I agree with that, and we'll put Superman 4 in the D tier, and we're kind of establishing what some of these tiers mean. And there's more to be added to these, I think, still, but. Yeah, let's knock out a couple of easy ones. I think I feel like both Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises go in the A tier. Are you arguing with that?
No. Those are the two that I was referring to earlier that might have had contention for S tier. Either of them could have been I can see the argument.
Yeah.
But neither of them quite make it. But definitely A.
In this case, where you would put Begins above Rises, I think, and I'd put Rises above Begins. I don't know how we solve that. I don't think it's worth arguing over for the sake of this video.
Yeah, just pick one. I mean,
fine.
The difference is minimal at the end of the day.
Other good movies. Superman, the first one.
Yeah. But is it an A or is it a B?
I would make an argument for A. I think it's important to the genre. I think for everything that it doesn't get quite right, there's a special feeling. There's a... it feels like they've gone with the wind of superhero movies. There's a sweeping quality to it. And it's a little dated, sure. I'm not saying that, everything in it holds up. It's
true, but it is a great movie that I would happily watch it anytime. I love it whenever I watch it.
So are we agreeing that's an A tier? Is that what we're doing?
Sure, yeah.
Right, okay. Superman, the movie, and the A tier. The things get trickier. Once you've solved out the obvious ones, things start to get a bit trickier. So let's just establish what I have not seen. I have not seen Batman 66, nor am I particularly interested in seeing it.
Is that in this list?
It's there, yeah. I have not seen Jonah Hex.
Yeah, Jonah Hex is one of the ones I've not seen.
Okay, well we're just not tiering that then, because Jonah, we can't tier something we're not seeing. I have not seen Constantine.
I have,
and I hadn't seen Catwoman.
For me, it was Jonah Hex and Steel, which I've seen clips of, but never the full thing.
Oh, I've seen Steel. I think Steel goes straight to the E tier then, honestly.
Sure.
I'll put that in there. It's terrible. There's a couple of funny, so bad it's funny moments, but not enough like Superman 4 to make it a constant kind of cheesy, fun time. Okay. It's just not quite up to that level.
On the same thing, then, I will put in the ones that I've seen. Batman 66, I would put in the C tier. It's a good movie. It's fun, but it's not like a great movie. It's kind of fun for what it is. And I enjoy it, but it's not great. If
you'd put it any higher than that, I would try and argue it, but I'll let you have the C.
And the other one, Constantine, I would put in the D tier in that it's not a great Constantine adaptation, but it's an okay film. It's not terrible.
So what did you say that was going?
D.
D. That sounds right based on reputation, but I mean that's not a lot to go on, admittedly.
I think for these can both go at like the end of said tiers because obviously you've not seen them, so we'll put everything else in front of them.
Superman 2 is a pretty solid movie. I think I would happily put that in the B tier and establish a B tier there.
Which cut are we talking about?
I don't count the Richard Donner cut because it's not a complete movie. It's an interesting watch for history's sake, but it's not a finished film that works.
Okay.
But I still think Superman 2 is an enjoyable film, though, even with...
Yeah, I do like it. It's good.
So if you're agreeing with me there, we'll put Superman 2 in the B tier.
Yeah.
And I think that's a nice place for it to...
Yeah, I like how we're avoiding the contentious ones for now.
Superman 3 is an interesting one for me, because Superman 3, I have a lot of nostalgia for, and it's not a particularly good movie, and I think it's definitely better than 4.
It is.
Right? Which I guess puts it in the C by default, because it's obviously worse than 2. And it's better than 4.
It's at least in the C, or at worst, it's maybe in the D tier, but above 4.
Yeah, that'd be fair. Because there's tons of reasons to not like that movie as a Superman movie. Because there's an entire subplot with Richard Pryor that feels like a Richard Pryor comedy, and I like those scenes for what they are, but they don't really belong in a Superman movie.
They feel out of place, yeah.
That said, though, Superman 3, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, has the single best live-action Superman scene of any Superman movie or TV show.
Yeah, you really love this, don't you?
The junkyard fight between Clark Kent and evil Superman. Which is a split personality thing with himself, which ends with Clark winning, ripping open the shirt to reveal Superman in the true sort of bright colour again and flying off to save everything, is a beautiful scene.
It's up there. I think on that scene alone, I'm willing to give it the C.
Excellent. I thought I was going to have to fight harder.
No, that scene is pretty fantastic.
I'll take it.
Even if the rest of the movie is just like, okay.
Are you let me put it above Batman 66?
No, sorry.
Okay, alright, I'll accept that. Let's try some of the more positive, newer ones first.
Okay, so we're looking at Wonder Woman
and Shazam, really.
Yeah.
We're looking at those two. I think Shazam's better than Wonder Woman overall.
Honestly, I think they're very I think they belong in the same tier. I think they're very similar levels of movie. That Shazam is more consistent, and it's but both are pretty good. Shazam's more consistent, but Wonder Woman definitely has moments that outshine anything in Shazam.
Oh no, the trench, the World War I No Man's Land sequence in Wonder Woman is definitely much more of an epic and more iconic moment and heartfelt moment than just a bit better than Shazam by a wide margin. But I think Shazam's overall heart is stronger and is kind of more consistently there throughout. The villain sucks. I mean, that's true. It's missing some extra spark. But it's true for Wonder Woman too. The villain sucks in that as well. So, I mean, honestly, my gut instinct looking at these tiers as they are is that they both go in the B tier.
No, I agree. Shazam can go above Wonder Woman based mainly on the third act. Let's be honest.
Okay.
Because it does fall down in the third act to become a CGI dust background fight that's just okay.
Maybe this is nostalgia speaking, but Superman 2 does mean more to me. So I would keep Superman 2 in front of them, but I mean, you could argue me.
I don't feel that strongly. I like Shazam a lot. I don't think I like it more than Superman 2.
All right, then.
Maybe it is nostalgia. That I've seen Superman 2 a lot.
Where's Batman and Robin going? Let's get that heavy item out of the way.
Okay. It could be a D tier in the sense that we could watch it again and find a lot of enjoyment out of how bad it is.
I certainly think it belongs to be above the F tier. I will definitely say that.
Yeah. I don't think it doesn't make me angry.
And given the argument that it belongs, because I mean, arguably Superman 4 and Batman and Robin, although Superman 4 I think is better overall because the heart's in the right place, whereas Batman and Robin, the heart is not there. Batman and Robin is a toy commercial through and through, and is nothing more than that. But it does have Arnold, and it is funny.
I mean, it's either low end of D or high end of
E, yeah. Honestly, I think Batman and Robin is way more watchable than Steel or Swamp Thing. So I'm going for low D tier here.
Okay.
I'm going for low D tier.
Low D sounds good.
All right. There we go. That's that.
I mean, stupid puns get you into the D tier, apparently.
What do you want to do next? Pick one.
Green Lantern. That sounds like a fun one.
This one's hard.
I don't think Green Lantern is F. As bad as that movie is, I don't think it's down to F.
I don't think it's F either. Here's the thing. I think I'm aiming towards D tier for Green Lantern because it's thoroughly and annoyingly mediocre. But it's not a complete.
It's not terrible, is it?
But it's not Steel or Swamp Thing bad.
It's a cohesive movie.
We have two garbage tiers there, and I think that it's above garbage tier. It's not good, so I think we're looking again at the D tier here. And that said, I'd rather watch Batman and Robin again. So I think we're looking at the low end of the D tier.
Yeah.
So, unless there's an argument.
No. I think, like I said, I would. if someone went, "Oh, you've got to watch Green Lantern," I'd be like, really?" But fine. Yeah, there are things that I can like in that movie. Mark Strong, for example, I think its heart's in the right place in the sense of the stuff on Oa. At least they understood there is a Green Lantern.
That's it. That's it. I could be tempted to go for Haie instead, though, because at the same time, I'm like, I don't really know if I want to watch it again. And that was our argument before, is that we'd be willing to watch these things again. Or not even just willing, like, we'd actually kind of like, oh, I'll get something out of it.
Yeah, that's a different thing. 'Cause I'd be willing to watch it. Would I willingly choose to watch it just because?
Alright, I've convinced myself. Haie. See, for fun's sake, I think from here, we do them in chronological order.
Okay.
Which means we're going with Batman 89 next. I am willing to give you the C tier on this one.
I was going to push for B, so I'll take C. I knew you were aiming for D at best, so I'm like, I'll take the C tier.
I'm willing to give you C. I'll even give you the top of the C tier, because it's definitely a well put together movie in that it's, you know, it's coherent and it doesn't feel like it's full of mistakes or anything like that. I just hate a lot of things about the actual adaptation elements. I don't like the Batman. I don't like Tim Burton's style all that much.
I mean, if you go watch our review that we did last year, I can boil it down to like one sentence. It's a bad Batman movie, but it's a good Tim Burton movie.
Yeah. So I will give you high C tier. I am willing to let you have that.
Yeah, honestly, as soon as we started this, I was like, right, I'm gonna have to fight on. I want B. I knew you were gonna want like D or E, so I was like, I'm fighting to pull it up to at least C, and so I'm gonna take what I can get.
Well, in this case, this is where we get to something that's perhaps even more controversial, given us, because Batman Returns, I absolutely detest. I think
but it has penguin bombers.
Batman Returns is, excuse my friends, French, garbage.
Penguin bombers immediately move it up at least one tier.
Garbage. Well, I was thinking E tier, so I mean, if you want to settle on D.
I'll settle for D because it's worse than 89.
No, I definitely worse than 89. I will concur with that. That said, I'd rather watch Batman and Robin again. So I
mean, basically, what I'm trying to weigh up here is puns versus penguin bombers. Which one is more enjoyable?
It's not just puns; it's Arnold puns. Keep that in mind. That is a valid point here to make.
No, it is. But Danny DeVito and penguin bombers, they're actual penguins with bombs strapped to them. Like,
it's so overlong, it's so boring and dull, and Batman's just laughing about killing people left and right, and like,
he is, yeah.
And Catwoman literally comes back to life. Penguin's literally a mutated penguin man hybrid. I'll give you one positive. Christopher Walken is a delight.
He is.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
I want it above Batman and Robin, but you're gonna let me. You're gonna fight me.
In the interest of moving this forward, I won't fight you on this. I'll pick my battles. There we go. And I'm sure that there's people watching this who think these, like, Batman Returns and Batman 89 are two of the best DC movies, and they're fuming in the comments. I can feel it.
I know.
I can sense it. Oh, we've actually skipped one chronologically. We messed up at the start because Supergirl came before both Batman movies, so we're going back. We're going back to Supergirl now.
It's not a good movie, but it's not terrible.
There's things in Supergirl I like. It's like I say, it's not good, especially as I've gotten older and I've kind of noticed that it's for the first ever big, like, leading lady superhero movie. It has kind of a weird thing where both her and the villain, played by, you know, Faye Dunaway, who's like a legend, end up fighting over a dumb hunky man. And it's kind of, you know, it starts off with a MacGuffin, which is, you know, it's okay, it's a superhero movie with a MacGuffin, that's fine. It becomes this weird thing, and I can't help but feel like, okay, so men wrote this movie. This was men who wrote this script, thinking this is what women would fight over. And it feels really weird. That said, you know, Jerry Goldsmith's score is really good. I like all the stuff where she sort of like sort of sneaks into the school and like sort of like puts herself and you know, and like her building her secret identity. I like all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, and I kind of like to go into the Phantom Zone, which is something the Superman movies never did. There's something in there to like.
No, that's what I mean. In terms of a DC adaptation, there are ideas there that they're kind of playing with, that they're having fun with. In terms of a, you know, it being very sexist and clearly written by men, yeah, not great. Pure enjoyability factor, mixed.
Honestly, I kind of want to put it in the low end of the C tier.
As long as it's on the low end, I can't in good conscience have it below Batman 66, which is a campy movie. Don't get me wrong.
Above, you mean?
What did I say?
Below.
Yeah. No. I think this is worse than that.
I'm happy to keep it at the bottom. I think there's a toss up between that and Superman 3. I have nostalgia for both, but I think there's some good things in it, even if ultimately there's a lot of bad things to it. The action sequence that happens where there's the truck, the driver becomes mind controlled and Jimmy almost gets killed and Supergirl. There's some good things in there.
No,
okay?
no, there is, yeah.
So where are we going next?
Well, back to chronological, I suppose. So we're back to Batman Forever.
Batman Forever, indeed. Yes. This is one that for me, I loved when I saw it as a kid, because when I was 6 when this came out, it was perfect. But
it was bright colours and punching things.
I think I even had a crush on Nicole Kidman when this came out.
That's pretty understandable.
Not my first crush. That was definitely Kimberly, the Pink Ranger. Let's make that clear right now.
Right. Yeah, right there with you on that one, actually.
That said, I hate the representation of Two-Face in this. Who's just kind of a henchman for Riddler. Riddler, there's some potential there, maybe, but Jim Carrey was maybe just too typecast for that.
Yeah, you're just feeling Jim Carrey, aren't you?
Val Kilmer's an okay Bruce Wayne, not a great Batman. Robin being 25.
It's just weird, yeah.
It's just weird. They're cowards. They're cowards for not having a teenager, at least. I'll accept a 15-year-old. I get it. You don't want to have a 10-year-old. And then the plot is ridiculous. When we reviewed this last year, how insane the plot is, with Riddler stealing the minds of everyone in Gotham. It's absurd.
I've forgotten some of that stuff.
It's so cartoony. But here's the thing. I think that this is less watchable than Batman and Robin, because Batman and Robin is funny bad. Batman Forever is just not quite in that league. It's technically, objectively, a better movie because of that, but I think it's a harder watch now because it's just not as funny. It's more dull to actually sit through. So I guess what I am proposing is either the very low end of the D tier or the high end of the E tier. And I actually think I'm actually leaning towards the low end of the D tier. I think you put it in D tier right behind Batman and Robin, because they do kind of feel like a pair in a lot of ways. And it makes sense that they'd be close. And I don't know if it's quite bad, because it's still not a terrible movie. I don't think it's as bad as Steel or Swamp Thing, or even, I think Green Lantern arguably is a weaker movie, because at least Batman Forever, as much as I don't like the Vision, does kind of have some of a vision in it.
Yeah, it's just that vision is blinded by neon.
And I like neon in the right context. Alright, so we seem to have agreed there. The Batman Forever, it goes at the bottom of the D tier. So Superman Returns. This is an interesting one.
This is a fundamentally flawed movie that is another one that has its heart in the right place, where it's like we love those Christopher Reeve movies. We want to continue that, do more of his legacy without him. But it's just not a very well written movie.
I think this movie is guilty of having one great sequence, and that is the plane sequence. And obviously, it's nice to have some of John Williams' score back, although it actually kind of underuses it. See, when you watch it and actually sort of pay attention to it, it doesn't use it enough. It's
I admit I have not seen this movie in a long time.
Everything with the sun plot is weird. It's so baffling in the comics. They actually did a perfect Superman has a son story over years, when this movie just completely whiffs it.
Where is it that they're trapped inside? The sun's locked in a boat. Yeah. That whole section is so boring.
And while we're on it, the worst on-screen Lois Lane of the entire history of Superman.
Yeah.
Kate Bosworth is terrible in this.
It's a real shame because Brandon Routh, he's trying his best. He embodies everything that it could have possibly have done to continue that vision of Superman. And
that's the other thing, like Kevin Spacey, obviously, let's not even count like how we feel about him now because of what's come out about him, because that's not necessarily relevant to the movie itself. Although the fact that the director also has other stories of that nature about him does certainly paint a very icky feeling towards it. But just the plot, in terms of the movie on its own merits, like, it's Lex Luthor's trying to make new real estate again. It's repeating plot from the original movie. It's a nostalgia sequel without not going far enough away from it, and that's very frustrating. So when we talk about where it should go, I'll say I think Superman Returns is one that I would rather watch less than both Superman 3 and Supergirl. So
I agree with that.
I think we're in the D tier again. Maybe not at the bottom of the D tier, but I think we're in the D tier again.
I think It kind of falls in a similar place to what we were saying about Superman 4, in that the heart's in the right place. Because like I said, we're saying, it's nostalgia. And it's not nostalgia because of oh, that'll make money. It's nostalgia out of reverence for those movies and not
Yeah.
wanting to throw that away.
Here's the thing, though. Superman 4's nostalgia for us is for Superman 4. Superman Returns is trying to play off nostalgia for the old Superman movies rather than have it in itself, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I get more out of watching it because Superman Returns is, after that plane sequence is really boring and dull. I think I'd rather watch 4 again.
Yeah, and I'd rather watch Constantine again, to be honest.
But we could slot it in between Robin and Forever. Or would you prefer Returns below Forever? Because I wouldn't really argue with you that much.
No, above Forever.
Above Forever. Okay, there we go. Superman Returns. This D tier is getting packed. And we're going to actually leave Watchmen out, I think, because under the grounds that it's more like V for Vendetta and maybe doesn't necessarily belong in this list, even though there's been some Watchmen DC stuff in the comics.
It's a bit more superhero-y than V for Vendetta, I guess.
Yes. I mean, do you want to put it in somewhere?
I mean, we can do. I mean, we've both seen it. We have an opinion.
Yeah,
on this
true. So, okay, well, here's the thing. Watchmen as a movie is devoid of any of the actual depth that the comic book has, and I will say that it is aged quite badly. I think it aged badly anyway. It's aged even worse because of the TV show. Because the TV show has its own plot, it is a sequel to the book, and actually manages to capture all of the depth, or not even the depth of the book, but it has its own depth. It has its own depth in the style of what the book had, and it has its point. It has its point. It says its own things. It's got a statement. It's about something. And Watchmen the movie is about copying the comic book panel for panel. And the comparison I've made before, and I'll make it again, is that the remake of Psycho is proof of the way that films are made. And Psycho, the remake, tries to recreate the original shot for shot, and it just falls apart and doesn't really work. And the reason why it doesn't work is because filmmaking is a series of stages, and one stage is like the script, and then the planning, and then the filming, and you plan for what you're going to do. But then the final stage is the edit room, and you pick things that work. You shoot for different possibilities. You edit. The edit is equally part of the artistic process as anything else is, as the writing is, as the actual shooting is. And constricting yourself to the way another movie edited together because of the way it was shot, it takes this part out and makes it feel very sterile. And I think Watchmen has the same thing by trying to copy the comic book panels the way it does.
It tries to use the comic as the storyboards. And I agree. This is a movie that I used to defend a little bit more. This is where it is devoid of feeling. I think the director's cut is better. Or whatever they call it. I don't think they call it director's cut, but the longer one.
Well, there's the director's cut, and then there's the one that has the Tales of the Black Freighter in it as well.
Not that one. Now that we're a few years removed now, the decade or whatever. I don't know if I ever want to watch it again.
Yep, no, it's a long movie because it's 3 hours long, the director's cut.
Yeah.
So it's a commitment. So with that all said,
by the rules that we were playing, that kind of throws it into the E category, right? Where we just don't want to watch it.
Which feels a little bit harsh because I will say at least this about it is that the filmmaking quality is much higher than Steel and Swamp Thing at the very least.
I think this is falling similar to what we were saying about Green Lantern in that's a cohesive movie. There's a cast there that they're doing their job, and it works fundamentally. It's just not very good.
Is it very controversial to put Watchmen as the upper E tier movie?
Probably, but I'm kind of feeling the same way.
You know what? Hey, we're here to create controversy, all right? You know what? Hot take. Oh, I need to put it there first. Watchmen, upper E tier.
If you'd asked me a couple of years ago, I'd have probably fought for C or D.
Yeah, no, I think it would have been a C tier. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, I'd have probably put it in the C tier.
Yeah.
But it's actually went down over time. And I think I'd have put it in a D tier. See, a year ago, I bet I might even put it in the D tier. I think the Watchmen show has made that movie look so much worse because it just doesn't have anything to say.
I haven't even seen the Watchmen show yet, but I get it.
Oh, we are Man of Steel? Oh my, we're getting to some really juicy stuff there.
Oh, okay.
Man of Steel.
I have an opinion on Man of Steel.
Oh god, here we go.
This is a C tier movie. If we were going purely on as a Superman adaptation, this would be down in F. Don't get me wrong. It completely fundamentally misunderstands Superman. But I think it's a pretty solid movie in its own right. It had some pacing problems, and it's not perfect. That's why it's not any higher. But I think it's a pretty good, solid movie that I would happily watch again as a movie about an alien on Earth that just doesn't happen to be Superman.
I think I like the music enough that I'm not going to fight too much, and there's definitely scenes in there I like.
I feel similar to the first flight scene in this movie as you do with the junkyard fight in Superman 3.
I think the
In
flight.
that,
No, I think the first flight scene is good. I also think the fight in Smallville is generally pretty good. And he kind of feels like he's being Superman in that scene. And I think Zimmer's score is pretty much phenomenal. So
yeah,
I think I'm willing to put in the C tier. Where in the C
Okay.
tier is maybe an interesting question, though.
I would put it above Supergirl. Beyond that, I'm not willing to fight too hard.
I would maybe even put it in the higher up of the C tier because I think that and Batman '89 have a lot in common for me in terms of where I objectively kind of think of them.
Yeah, I think it's what I said about Batman '89. That it's a bad Batman movie, but it's a good Tim Burton movie.
So I think I like Man of Steel more than I do Batman '89, and on the scores alone, Zimmer's score beats Danny Elfman's, and
100%.
and that is probably a controversial statement to many people, but
And I like Elfman's score. It's one of the few Elfman scores I do like. Elfman is often so overdone, over dramatic, and I say that as someone who's a big fan of John Williams. Elfman is a next level over dramatic. Batman I do quite like. I think it fits the movie, but Man of Steel is better in its score in every single track.
well, it sounds like we're oh, let me just fix that. There we go. Now, it is worth mentioning here, we're clearly seeing like if you look at this like a graph, there's definitely a formation of a peak.
There's a bit of a bell curve going on, isn't
Yeah, which is it's not a nice bell curve either. It's one that veers lower. But hey, we have standards, damn it, and we will uphold them. Which leads us to Suicide Squad.
I'm holding out for the E personally. I don't think it's full garbage F. I think it's low E.
I'll give you low E, but I'm not going any higher than that. That is the
Alright.
highest I'm willing to give it.
Right at the bottom of E.
Suicide Squad is an absolute mess of in terms of technical qualities of filmmaking. There's literally edits in that film that made it confusing to follow. So there you go. That is Suicide Squad, which leads us to Justice League.
Controversial. I think this is worse than Suicide Squad.
Oh no, we're going to fight on this. No.
Suicide Squad is a mess of editing, and it's not a well-made movie, but it's one movie. Justice League is two different movies mashed together and forced into place, and it's atrocious.
Yeah, but the effect of that is still better than what Suicide Squad has. The effect of what kind of works in Justice League is better than Suicide Squad. And I'm not demanding a high place for this. I'm really not. Like I would maybe argue a D tier, maybe. Right?
Okay, tell me this: would you ever want to watch this movie again? Be honest. Do you want to watch this?
Okay, upper E tier, but I would put it above Watchmen. I'd put it at the top of the E tier.
Well, above Watchmen? Are you bloody kidding me? Watchmen is devoid of life, like we said, but it's it's one movie. It follows. It has a narrative trajectory. The Justice League is just like mashed together bits and pieces.
There was a couple of moments. There was some moments though that I liked, at the very least. But I don't know. Like, I'll definitely fight for it above Green Lantern. I like it has more interesting things happening than Green Lantern.
Fine.
So let's go.
I do disagree, but fine.
So let's go below.
I'll give you above Green Lantern.
All right, there we go. DCEU ain't looking so hot, is it? Which leads us to Aquaman.
Yeah, I think it's better than any of those DC movies. Definitely not B tier. It's no Shazam or Wonder Woman by any means. It's just okay. My gut says low C, high D.
Yeah, I can see that. I give it a 6. I think the ending's terrible because it's just this big CGI fight no one cares about because no one knows what these various fish armies are. There's some likeable elements, but I don't like a lot of decisions made. That said, though, and maybe this is controversial, but I would rather watch Superman 3 or Supergirl more than I would Aquaman.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell you right now. This is going in the D tier for one reason. For that terrible, terrible, terrible cover of Africa. I'm sorry, that's what it deserves for having that. It starts and you go, oh yeah, great song, come on then. And at this point, we're following on from Suicide Squad, which say what you want about it. There was some songs in there I liked at least.
Yeah.
And then this, and you start me with that. I'm going, okay, cool.
Also, I hate.
And then it gets into the rest of it, and I'm like, nope.
There's a really cheap, obvious twist. I mean, it's from the books, don't get me wrong. It did happen in the books at one point. But in the context of the movie, there's this really cheap, obvious twist, like 2/3 through, that I hate. The entire third act, I think, is pretty much garbage because it's just all CG fighting that you can barely understand and follow. It's sleep-inducing. It pushes you to sleep, that third act.
It does. I think if we are putting in the D tier, though, it has to be at the top end just for the trench dive.
Trench dive, yeah, there's a couple of action beats that are not bad.
I like the stuff in Atlantis early on.
Sure, I love it, but upper D tier, I'll give you. Yeah, I think it's a rough movie. There's nothing in the third act that I connect with or root for or care about. It's just, by that point, I'm so out of it. That I'm just not into it. Which leads us to the Joker. And this is going to be controversial to someone because this movie is very divisive. So whether we put it high, which ain't going to happen, that'll upset people who think it's trash. And if we put it low, it'll upset people who think it's a masterpiece, which some people seem to think so.
Okay, so we kind of know what each other think about this movie.
Yes.
I know for a fact I like this more than you do. I don't love this movie. I'm not arguing for high, but I like it more than you.
Sure.
My reaction is this does not deserve above a C.
I definitely concur with that.
Like I could see this alongside. I think it's a better movie than Superman 3.
Here's where it gets tricky because I would rather watch Superman 3 again.
I get that. There's Superman 3 is more fun.
I mean, I'd rather watch Supergirl again than Joker.
Really?
Yeah, like Joker just, it feels like it's coming from such a cynical place, and
yeah,
I just
I think it's fundamentally misunderstood by the director and the writer as to what the movie is.
Yeah,
and that is a problem. And I don't begrudge anyone who does like this movie. I think there are things to like. I understand what people like Taxi Driver, right? I get why. That's a good movie. There's reasons to like that movie. But this is just the same, but without that feeling, without understanding what made that movie good. And it's the same, like Fight Club, like how no. Actually, if you look at the movie properly, it's a really well-made movie about these things, but it is misconstrued by the general public or a certain section of the public. I think Joker definitely has that, which in perception makes me dislike it more, just because of how much some people think it's incredible, and it's not. It's just okay.
So we're on C tier, for sure. I think we've sussed that out. It's just kind of where in C tier. I'm willing to put it as low as you're willing to put it, basically.
I think I put this above Supergirl. I'm sorry.
Okay, I will put it there.
But I'm willing to concede that I would rather watch Superman 3.
Okay, well there you go. Joker has landed there. So we're not doing Jonah Hex, we've not seen it. Now, this is technically the end of this. However, now we're recording this a day after the release of Birds of Prey, and we have both seen it, but we've not done the review yet, and we're not telling each other what we think until we do the review, and it feels weird to argue on this. So I think what we'll do is that tomorrow, after we've reviewed Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, or whatever it's called, I think me and Connor will actually record the ending of this then.
Okay, we'll add in a little...
And we'll add in Birds of Prey. And we're back 24 hours later. We just did a review for Birds of Prey with Matt. It was like over 90 minutes. You can check that out. But that means we get to do this. We get to now add in Birds of Prey into this tier system, which is still sitting where it was yesterday. I'll just scroll up there so you can see the whole thing. So we have to argue where Birds of Prey goes. And this is going to be difficult because, well, Connor quite liked the movie and I did not.
Yeah. So here's what I propose, because we've just argued for 90 minutes,
yes,
right? And I don't have too much arguing left in with me. I know where I want it. You probably know where you want it. We'll say those points, be fair, and we'll split the difference. Don't go lower just for the sake of going low to so you can split the difference even. Just genuinely, where would you want it?
Where do you want it?
Well, as I said on that review, so you'll know that this is where I want it. B tier, right above Shazam. That's where I would put it. because that lines up with what I said, and I think I like it more than any of those other movies there. But no, not as not as much as Superman 2, probably.
Sure. See, I because for me, it's in a very kind of similar place to Joker and Aquaman, and which, if you look at where those are, we're the low end of the C. I'd probably stay in the C tier. I think it's well made enough to not put it in the D tier. So I'm happy to kind of sort of concede on that. But I'd be going low C tier, for sure.
Okay, and I want high B. So if we say high to mid C to even it out.
Okay. I mean, I certainly don't mind it going above Batman 66, I suppose, because I have no preference to that.
What about 89?
I think 89 is a technically more refined film, but I think I'm willing to put Birds of Prey above it, because I think there's definitely more things I like in Birds of Prey. There's also more things I dislike in Birds of Prey, but there's some positive things that I'll give you above Batman 89. Yeah, Under the Man of Steel probably feels right then.
I'll take it. It's as close as I'm gonna get, I suppose.
Okay, I have to split the difference a little bit there. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
As we were kind of saying before, when we wrapped up yesterday's, there's a clear curve happening here, where the C, D, and E tiers are the ones that are really full. Like, they are really packed.
Yeah.
And I dream of getting another A tier movie. I mean, forget S tier for now. I mean, if we get another masterpiece that can go up next to The Dark Knight, then amazing.
Oh, that'd be lovely, wouldn't it? But
even getting an A tier feels like it's not been in reach for a while. For our taste anyway. So
yeah, because obviously I just made clear there, for me, Birds of Prey would have been B tier. So I would have had all three of those current movies in that B tier, which is not the best. Obviously, I would like it A tiers or S, obviously. But I'm happy with B tiers for the most part. I get that those are enjoyable. I'll take B tiers all day long.
This is something we can come back and kind of re-argue a little bit when new movies come out. We can slot in the new movie and maybe argue if there's anything we feel like we need to change from before, if we feel like time has
do a little
more
update on it.
Yeah, more kind or less kind to some. I mean, what's coming up? We have Suicide Squad by James Gunn, which is a good creator behind that. We have the Batman with a good creator and a good cast, and we've got
Wonder Woman 84, which it's the same cast and crew as the first one, which.
Wonder Woman 84 feels weird to me because I feel like it can't go above B. I'm looking at the trailer. It looks like fun, but I don't see it going above that B tier. I think it's got a ceiling.
It might do. We won't know until we watch it. Of course, it might surprise us.
There's just something about it just feels like, okay, it's probably going to be fun, but I don't see it rising above. Like, I don't know if anything in that movie is going to be as good as the No Man's Land scene. Like, I don't know if I'm getting that feeling from it, but I mean, it's just a hunch more than anything else.
No, it definitely feels, because the first Wonder Woman movie, we probably spoke about this yesterday, but that No Man's Land is obviously the high point, and it is a phenomenal scene, and nothing else in the movie comes close. But it's not what I would describe as necessarily a fun movie. Whereas this is definitely going. It's set in the 80s. It's doing all that vibe stuff, and it is having more fun with itself. I don't think it's even going to try and do anything like that No Man's Land scene. That might just feel out of place in that movie.
I mean, there's potential in all the ones we just mentioned. I mean, once we go beyond that, we're into The Flash, if it ever happens, and Aquaman 2, and Black Adam, and Shazam 2. Like,
we know so little about any of those movies that it's hard to even predict what they're going to be like.
I feel like, sadly, and I hate to say this because we've had a good Batman trilogy. I don't need more good Batman. I need good other characters, but I do feel like Matt Reeves' Batman is probably the highest potential out of any of them.
I mean, that, or perhaps James Gunn's Suicide Squad, because he has shown very adept at that kind of film that could be fantastic.
No, he has, but I still think Matt Reeves has a higher
chance, but I think both of those have the potential. Having not seen a single second of footage, they both, on concept from the creatives involved, have the ability to get into A tier.
Nothing about Shazam. I mean, I like Shazam, and Shazam 2 will hopefully be more in direction that
more
I like.
The same, yeah.
I want to be surprised. I want to be surprised with Black Adam, which again feels kind of weird to me. Like, none of the ones that are kind of past that point feel super exciting or special to me yet, and maybe that'll change once they have trailers and once I can see stuff from them. But right now, there's kind of a feel that a lot of these modern DC movies have in terms of how they look and how they operate, and I hope that something really breaks what my expectation is and just kind of wows me. I really hope they do.
Obviously, we didn't really like Joker that much, as you can see by where we've placed it.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely feels different to those other movies. I'd like them to try and, hey, just give a director free reign to just do something stupid and small with things.
Joker for me is kind of the Last Jedi of DC movies in that I appreciate that it's different and trying different things. I just think it whiffs on the execution. So I don't like it anyway, but like I don't want them to try things.
You like the sentiment of it, the way it was made,
yes.
Right? Not necessarily who was making it and how it was and what they did, but just the idea of Warner going to a director and saying, "Here's a small budget, you can use Joker, go and do something different."
Yeah, so hopefully those higher tiers fill out for us. And some people are going to disagree. There's definitely some controversial picks. There's obviously anyone who's ever tweeted hashtag release the Snyder Cut is going to hate this ranking. But you know what? That's part of the fun of it. So thank you very much for joining us for this tier system. I'll put it back up to full screen as I say goodbye so you can just kind of have one last proper look at it. But that is our tiered list, kind of negotiated between myself and Connor. Let us know what you think of it in the comments, like and subscribe, all that stuff. If you want to get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates, you can do that. Do check out the Comics from the Multiverse, the DC Comics podcast that we're both on with Matt. And make sure you check out the Birds of Prey review, which will already be up by the time this goes out. So go and have a look at that stuff. If you want to support everything we do, you can do that over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month and keep all the content coming. And you will see for more tier videos in the future. Mostly for myself. It's mostly a solo thing I do. But I will be back with more soon. So thank you very much for watching. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys. And we'll see you next time.